The Meg has chomped its way to the top of the box office and has proven to be a surprise hit this summer. But despite a giant shark, entertainment, and Jason Statham, the movie still has a few things that make no sense, especially when compared to the actual facts. Before we get started though, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with everything ScreenRant.
It's a shark.
It's a Megalodon.
The Cloud. The reason why we've never seen a Megalodon in real life, according to the film, is that a cloud at the thermocline acts as a ceiling for a whole new ecosystem at a depth lower than we previously thought possible. When the scientific submarines breach this cloud, a hole temporarily opens and the Meg, sensing a change in temperature, makes a break for the hole and emerges in the higher levels of the ocean. There's a problem with this theory though, and it stems from the cloud itself. The scientists in the film tell us that the cloud acts as a thermocline, which is a drastic temperature variation between bodies of water. The cloud is actually hydrogen sulfide, which is the root of the problem. While the hydrogen would act as a thermocline, it would also be lethal to anything that swims through it. Hydrogen sulfide, especially in its dissolved form, is extremely harmful to wildlife and would kill just about anything that swam through it. For argument's sake, even if the Meg could swim through fast enough and gets a pass due to its size, the shark would still be seriously injured and unable to carry about attack after attack right after breaching the cloud, even with a hole in the cloud made by a submarine. Mr. Whale. One of the earliest aquatic moments in the Meg actually wasn't the Meg itself, but a small family of whales who were swimming just outside of the scientific research facility in the ocean. The high-end submerged lab contained underwater tunnels which allowed for panoramic views of the ocean and a front row seat to a family of humpback whales, specifically a mother and her calf. The glass tunnels also provide for one of the coolest shots in the film, when the Meg tries to chomp down on the glass with Mei Ying standing in the middle of the bite mark. But those who know a thing or two about marine biology will know that the filmmakers made a mistake with these gentle giants. The mother can be heard singing to her calf in the ocean, only the scientists identified the parent whale as the mother. While female humpback whales do have some vocal abilities, it's actually the male whales that provide the singing in the family. So either that scientist messed up big time, or they let a first-time scientific discovery get eaten by a living fossil. Regardless, it looks like this multi-billion-dollar facility needs to get new scientists.
Did you guys ever watch Shark Week?
Hunting by day. As soon as the Meg notices a breach in the cloud of hydrogen sulfide, which essentially kept it prisoner in the lowest depths of the ocean, the Meg attacks a few boats, a whale, and a beach before it ultimately meets its end. But there's something that doesn't quite add up with these attacks. The Meg spent all of its life at the bottom of a trench, which was said to be even deeper than the lowest point in the ocean, the Mariana Trench. It's so far down that sunlight doesn't reach those depths. So the marine life down there has to create their own light and survive without the use of their eyes. While we have no evidence to say otherwise, it's safe to assume, based on other marine life, that the Meg in the film should actually be blinded by the sun since its eyes would be extremely sensitive to sunlight. In the novel, the Meg actually only hunted at night for this reason. Lack of food. The Megalodons featured in the film have a habitat well below the depths of the Mariana Trench, which is why we've never seen one before. Anyone who ever watched a nature documentary will know that many of the creatures that live in those depths are smaller and honestly terrifying. The Megalodons in the film, though, clock in at around 20 to 25 meters and survive in a thriving ecosystem that's made possible from a series of vents that keep the water warmer and full of nutrients. But there wouldn't be enough food or energy to sustain a Megalodon shark down in that ecosystem, never mind multiple Megs. First up, ocean vents are only recorded at 5,000 meters, which is around the halfway point between the trench and the surface, so realistically there shouldn't be any ocean vents down there. Second, the size of the food available wouldn't keep a Megalodon sustained. We saw a giant squid get eaten in the film, but something like a Megalodon would have to eat so much squid that the species would have been long extinct. A shark like the Meg would need more options for food, and its meals would have to be substantial enough to keep its energy levels high. For comparison, it's thought that great whites need 73 pounds of food for around 2 weeks of energy.
The Megalodon was the largest shark that ever existed.
Liver damage? According to the scientists in the Meg, the lowest recorded levels of the Mariana Trench isn't actually the lowest depth. Due to the vents located at the bottom of the ocean, a layer of hydrogen may be resting on the bottom, and it's possible that the ocean floor continues well below that cloud. So the only way to test this theory is to send a small submarine to the bottom of the ocean with 3 crew members on board. The pilot of this expedition is Lori, who just so happens to be Jason Statham's character's ex. The team successfully breaches the cloud and get to witness a whole new world underneath the cloud. But it doesn't take long for the giant shark to get attracted to the lights on the submarine and start attacking the machine. Before long, the sub has taken critical damage and Lori has a screwdriver lodged into her body, specifically on her left-hand side. Now, once she's rescued and brought to the research facility, we hear the doctor say that her liver was not damaged from the wound. Of course, it wouldn't be though. The human liver is located on the right side of the body, not the left, so Lori's liver was never in any danger from her wound. Looks like the research facility may want to hire better doctors along with better scientists.
One fish did all this?
The floating sharks. Once the Meg is on the loose, Jason Statham's Jonas and the team of scientists begin their pursuit to try and capture or kill the creature. The Meg is a large predator animal though, hunting wildlife for the first time and figuring out what can sustain it in this new environment. It actually attacks a small boat that was out in the ocean waters hunting sharks. These fishermen weren't hunting sharks for their meat though, but rather their fins for the Asian delicacy shark fin soup. The rest of the sharks are thrown overboard, back into the water, as they're deemed to be of no further value. Despite the good intentions of bringing awareness to this issue, the filmmakers got something wrong in this scene. When the scientific boat arrives to the wreckage, we see a whole bunch of shark bodies floating with the smashed bits of wood. Sharks are naturally negatively buoyant and would sink to the bottom of the ocean without their fins. Or the Meg would have just eaten them all, as the sharks are still food and require no hunting. So there's no way that there would be any shark remains floating around the wreckage considering the biology of the animals. But at least the movie made an attempt to bring this issue to a global audience.
It was a serious man versus nature moment.
Building up the pressure. Upon learning that Lori was injured at the bottom of the ocean and that a giant monster may be the one responsible, he then takes a small submarine and plunges into the ocean as fast as a little submarine will take him. Of course, he's cautioned against going so fast by the scientists and the doctors for fear of him doing extensive damage to his body and possibly passing out or worse. We see Jonas start to get a nosebleed and the audience is left wondering, maybe the scientists are actually right about this one and slowing down just a bit wouldn't be such a bad idea. Only Jonas had nothing to worry about in the first place. In fact, his nose should have never been bleeding at all. The submarine he was in was pressurized, which means that a rapid descent would have no effect on his physical health. Therefore, Jonas should have never gotten his nosebleed, nor should the scientists have been worried about his well-being. On the topic of pressure though, the Meg would actually have to be a different body type to swim underwater with all that pressure against it. Realistically, it would be squashed at that depth.
What's that?
Hoisting the Meg up. Okay, so minor spoiler here, but halfway through the film, the scientific team successfully killed the Meg in open water. By using poison, they were able to pierce the shark's mouth and eject the poison, which slowly killed the shark. Once it died, it slowly sank to the depths of the ocean. In the next scene though, something doesn't quite add up. We see that the scientists have successfully pulled the Meg onto the boat and have it hanging for display. And makes us wonder how on earth the tiny boat hasn't sunk to the sea floor with all that added weight. The Meg is estimated to weigh around 20 tons. Combined with the crew and equipment, and that boat should have gone down too. Furthermore, how exactly did the crew bring the shark's body back up to the surface? They would have had to undergo a deep-sea dive, located the body, and had the cable and crane strength to pull it all the way back up. Finally, they hoisted the shark on the crane tail up. And due to the size of the creature and the placement of the crane, it would have been impossible for them to place the shark with his head facing away from the boat.
Sir, range to contact 100 yards.
The opening sub-attack. The film opens up with Jonas undertaking a deep-sea rescue mission, which involved an incapacitated nuclear submarine at 10,000 meters. He was tasked with rescuing the souls on board and had to make a difficult decision and leave some sailors behind as he ran out of time. During this attack, it's heavily implied that the Meg is attacking the sub, as a large object is seen bashing into the hull of the vessel and leaving visible damage. But this doesn't make any sense. In the film, it's showed that a cloud lies on top of the trench, and due to the varying temperatures on either side, the Meg would never breach that cloud unless a foreign object opens the cloud. The sub that was in peril was at 10,000 meters, which is well beyond the recorded 730-meter crush limit for a large sub like that. The Meg was said to be hiding beneath the cloud of hydrogen sulfide, which was proven to be even deeper than the Mariana Trench, which is 10,994 meters deep. So there's actually no way that the Meg was the one bashing the sub. The sub never went deeper than the cloud of hydrogen sulfide, so Jonas can't claim he's seen it, as the shark never left the confines of the deep.
Someone's down here! Oh my god! Where's the
The Meg's home. We've talked about it extensively in this list, but let's dive into the Meg's home. Located well below 10,000 meters, the trench the shark calls home is a puzzling ecosystem that houses many unique and unseen life forms. But could such a large shark actually live in such a deep trench? Scientists don't think so. There are a few sharks that live in the darkness of the ocean. These include the goblin shark and the Greenland shark. Both of these sharks have low metabolic rates, which means they don't have to eat as much and don't have to move as much in order to preserve what little energy they have. A Meg, like a great white, is a shark that moves around a lot and at fast speeds, and likely has a high metabolic rate like the great white. Bearing that in mind, the ocean depths that the Meg calls home in the movie physically can't keep the shark alive, so it's more likely the Meg had a similar eating and swimming lifestyle to the great white shark than what was depicted in the film. But in the end, the Meg was a silly summer film that wasn't too concerned with the science. It just wanted to entertain, and entertain it did.
Wow.
That's it for now, everyone. Which part of the Meg made no sense to you? Do you think a movie like the Meg should pay more attention to science? Or is it okay for it to take liberties for the sake of entertainment? What did you think of the Meg? Let us know in the comments below. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in your playlist every day. Thanks for watching.